short and sweet. We're going to have a good time drawing today. Stick around. This video is going to be a little different in the sense that I'm really not going to talk about anything. This is just kind of a real live process video. So nothing revolutionary here, just me kind of going to talk about as I'm working my way through this actual piece here. And I pulled up a teeny bit of reference and kind of looked at it a little bit ago of kind of a dog skull and how a dog skull works. And that's kind of what I'm going to be working on here, is just making this skull, not necessarily that it's a dog skull, but making it into a skull that kind of sits on the top of this guy's head here. You can see it's kind of cool that a paint, I consider this painting, even though it's charcoal, I consider it painting because I am, using a paintbrush to remove instead of add, but it's the same. I'm still finding shapes and things like that. I'm probably not going to talk too much as I'm going through and working this here. Dog skulls are just really interesting in the sense that this cheekbone isn't like ours where it doesn't connect to the top of the skull. It's almost like this skull part here is floating within this cheekbone structure, and this cheekbone kind of comes in and then dips down a little bit, which I just find it really, really interesting how it does that. The other thing I do a lot of drawing with is my eraser. working on getting my video audio back to where it was, and it's not as easy as you might or I might have hoped it was going to be. So like now you can't, if you listen really close, you can kind of hear my the fan in my computer, and it's like it's not on until I start the video. As soon as I start the video, man, the fan just fires up and it's off and running. But I'll figure it out and put some soundboards up. And that definitely helped kind of the hollowness that this room was having. I don't know. I'm just gonna ramble since I'm here and talking. But I think the hardest thing with art and art in general is just kind of the business of art. Don't you wish you could just do your work, and that'd be it, and that'd be like all you have to do is your work. You wouldn't have to go out and try to find clients and sell your pieces and all that kind of stuff that you could actually financially just go ahead and make it on your own without doing all your work, without having to do all this extra pushing, if you will, to sell your pieces. You know what I mean? I know that's me just being a little on the gripey side. No, I'm not on the gripey side. I feel very, very blessed that I get what I get. But it just, sometimes I wish that I could just truly do my work. And not worry about selling and not worry about anything like that. Just do the work. And that would just be such an amazing space to live in. And just gonna say yeah, even that dreamy yeah, because it is such a dream. In order to make it as an artist, you really do need to develop a following, and you do your work, you do your homework, but people need to know who you are, or else you're not going to sell anything, So a lot of this, when you're doing a skull it's like I said, I had gotten up and I had gotten a whole bunch of reference. Well, didn't get a whole bunch of reference, but got reference and studied it and kind of figured out how a dog skull works. But in the end, I'm gonna find and create shapes that work for me, that I like, even though I'm going to stick to the dog shape somewhat, but the normal dog skull is going to actually kick up a little bit more and stuff like that, and I'm not doing that. I'm going to raise this up just a little bit here, but yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna do my own thing. and what I'm looking for is shapes that I really like, and that's what I'm gonna go for. So it's, I kind of call it educated. I'm gonna make educated decisions on the shapes based on research and based on photo reference, and that'll give it its real um, part. You know, where it'll feel like it's real, but there is a point where I'm just looking for the shapes, the most pleasing shapes. And then that's kind of what I'm going to go with. I knocked the camera, sorry, it's bouncing around now, I'm sure. So you're always making educated decisions. But sometimes you're going with just your gut. You're going with the pleasing shape. You're going with something that you really like as an artist. And you're going to like that shape. You like that shape, so you're sticking with it. And I do that a lot. Because for me, the fun thing about art is creating these shapes and watching these shapes come to life, and getting them to look like they're, that they have depth, like they're round. I love it. It's my favorite part of this whole process thing is that, when you get a piece and you kind of looks round, that arm looks round, you can feel it. Yeah, I love it. You can kind of feel it starting to happen there in that skull. And the one thing is sitting here looking at this going, okay, it's cool, right? And I like it. And these are some of the things I think of when I'm doing this is that, it's cool. The skull is cool. Look how forward it is coming up and over his head like that. So I have got to figure out what that means for back here, where originally I was thinking about, as I'm getting rid of this thing, I was going to shape it, but that's not going to work because it'll be way too heavy and it'll just flop down. So I'm going to have to come up with something that would make it make sense coming down. And so for me, what I'm thinking about doing, and you can say I'm starting a little bit there, is that what if it wasn't, you didn't know what it was. It could have been a bear or some kind of crazy animal, and it's all this hair, for the rest of the neck kind of coming away back here. And if I do it correctly, it'll wait that that's moving forward, it'll pull it back, and I can be creative in that it is my world. So I can do however and whatever I want when it comes to that thing. And so, I can make sure that I've got this skull maybe pushed back a little bit farther than a normal skull might be, right? And these horns, maybe the horns come down a little farther, right? Because that'll help me be able to fill in some weight a little farther on, and then maybe it's the skull kicks out just a teeny bit right there, right? So it just allows me to do a little fill-in work. To make it so that it doesn't look like it's gonna fall off of his head, because we don't want it to fall off his head. See how I'm moving these lines in a circular way to give it just more shape. I'm kind of carving into over here, thinning them out, and moving those lines so the lines arch, and that rounds out. It'll start rounding out this horn that we got going there. It's interesting. You can kind of see this extra little shape in here. And I got his ear going, but it makes me wonder if I carved into it like that, could I actually solve my weighted problem by giving it another horn back there? So all of a sudden this thing has this big old skull kind of deal, and then I don't want to leave it too much the same length as the ear, so I could, if I wanted to, I could push it out a little further. And I make these light, just so if I do want to change it, if I decided I don't like that, I could go in and brush a lot of that out if I chose to, or at least figure out a way to mix it all in there. just this like little hit there, so it looks like the horn kind of kicks up and goes around. And as a matter of fact, I could probably brush this out a little bit. And by brushing it out, it'll start fading it back a little bit, at least as far as this area goes. And you can see I did it so light I could get a lot of that out. Not that I want a lot of it out, I just want some of it out. So yeah, these are kind of the processes that I go through when I'm doing a piece. I'm not going to make this too long. I just thought you might want to join me for a few and just kind of casually talk about a piece. So anyhow, I hope you enjoyed. Please like, follow, tell your friends, all that kind of stuff. So anyhow, guys, take care. Talk to you later. Bye. So a few minutes have passed, and as I was looking at my reference and such like that, I'd realized that the skull, or this, I had dropped it way down here, the nasal cavity, way down here, which really did push the thing and make it look like it was falling off of his head, and so I stopped recording, and then I went in and I was looking at it, and I saw that, and I just went, oh man, what am I doing? And so I'd gone back in and made the changes, of course, not recording the changes, because, you know, as with everything, you get into it, and then you go, oh crud, I'm not recording it. But I thought I would just jump back in really quick and show the differences of when the navel cavity, it should be, it actually could even be higher if I wanted to, but like I said, I try to search for shapes that I like, and I'm okay with that. But this is a good example of, man, it was just falling off of his head, not kind of sitting there casting a shadow. So I really needed to get this thing pulled up quite a bit. And so anyhow, I did that. I moved the navel cavity where it was way down here. You can see kind of the bottom where the teeth used to be. And now the teeth are going to be way up here. I mean, it's almost 1/4 of an inch that I had to move this thing up. So anyhow, I just I thought I'd just go ahead and show you here so that you guys could see that it things always change. It just kind of goes back to the detail, the video that I did last time on my last video on YouTube where I called it details, and it's just like, you know, that's a detail. Going, okay, looking at this, the nasal cavity, and this, looking at that visual details. You know, a lot of people think details are just the specular on the eyeball, or the specular on the skin, or the jewelry or something like that. But the detail can be just, does it look right? Does it look right? And then being able to go in and make those changes, you know, and make those detail changes and those structural changes. And some people say that that's straight the composition and all that kind of stuff. But the problem is that I have a tendency to work my details going in like this, like here, and I'm working on my highlights and everything before I figured out anything else yet. So my personal process, the details, when I'm working the details, they help me figure out what's visually wrong with the whole piece, or not necessarily the whole piece, maybe just what's visually wrong with that, and how can it cast that shadow. So that's all I really wanted to say. Is I'll continuous this out, but now when I do this, it's going to feel, that's where his teeth are going to be, like it's coming off of his head a lot more than it was, and it just feels so much better to me, so much better. And I can keep, and even these little highlights, like if I put in this highlight just going forward like this, it's gonna kick that whole thing forward. Look at that. I mean, just that little visual height, just kick that thing forward. So anyhow, I just wanted to step back in because I did all this work without recording and just show you what I did. So you guys take care. Thanks for watching. Tell your friends, follow, hit the little bell button if you can, and thanks a lot. Talk to you guys later. Bye.